in our area, the Greater Central Alabama Labor Council. We have Daryl Dewberry with the mine workers, who's on his way. James, where's Daryl? He's nothing right behind me. I'm sorry, Daryl Dewberry, my good friend. James Crowder, my good friend, president of the West Alabama Labor Council, and they definitely have similar problems to the ones we're having in Jefferson County. Greg England, my dear friend with the steel workers. David Clark with USW 1013, and Kennard Cumbie with the laborers. So any union reps who are here who would like to speak, please come forward. I also see representatives from CWA who were not put to my list. Have I left off any of our unions who are here before we introduce our guest speakers? AFGE, I said government employees, but AFGE, big union, dynamic union, and boy are they facing federal cuts and we were at a rally with them in Anniston a couple of months ago because federal programs are on the chopping block. So we appreciate y'all driving all the way over here. People from Tuscaloosa are here. People from Anniston are here. We are appreciative of all of you who came so far to this event. I'm going to start off by introducing to you Richard Franklin, the president of the Birmingham. He does not need any recognition. He is everywhere. He's one of the most aggressive union presidents, and it's such a pleasure to work side by side with him. And then I will come back and introduce Mike Hale, who will be our first speaker.
This is a historic moment in Alabama history. This time, we have an opportunity today to stand together as a union, as teachers, as citizens, to say no, stop cutting our students. We have an opportunity today to stand together and bring unity together. This is a beautiful sight, standing at this podium speaking, standing in this park. It's a historic moment. Who would have thought 40 years ago we would be here? We must stop them from taking away from our kids. Our kids are suffering. They can do whatever they want to us as adults, but it's not fair to our kids. We cannot let them continue to cut our kids. We must stand up. We must leave here today and tell every citizen, our neighbors, anybody we pass by that they're getting ready to cut services for our kids. As Vi has already told you, we have different speakers from all walks. The beautiful part you will hear, Republicans, Democrats, all say the same thing, that they're getting cut, and it affects our kids and our families. Thank you.
I tell you what, Sheriff Mike Hale, I don't know how many people would be dead without this man. We have called him when we've needed resource officers at some schools. I called him once about a school where we were having some problems. He had head of every department in my office the next day, and we came up with a game plan to help those kids in that school. He has had traffic lights installed. He has sent deputies to man traffic. So he has been such a friend of the labor movement. We are honored to have Sheriff Mike Hale, and we hope Sheriff Mike Hale stays for many, 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 many years. He can't retire till long after I do. That's all I got to tell you. So, Sheriff Hale, thank you.
It's such an honor. It's such an honor to be here with all my labor friends. You know, many of you look at me as a sheriff, but I'd like to remind you that I'm also an honorary United Mine Worker. And so it's an honor to address my brothers and sisters. I'm charged with the responsibility of a safe Jefferson County. My goal is to be the safest in the world. But we have to have funding to do this. I don't envy the legislative delegation that makes the decisions on funding, and because I know on one side there's certainly a group that wants to save and wants to make sure that Cooper Green, and it should be there for our poor and indigent, and then on the other side there are representatives that represent folks that don't want any new taxes. But with that in mind, I really believe that the Sheriff's Office, that if you want to know what we do, even though with 37 cities and towns in this county, we are like the background program, the Windows program on your computer. We're the ones that are helping out and leading the way in complex investigations and extending our resources to police departments that don't have the resources. But more importantly, we are the ones that take care of the 133,000 folks in unincorporated Jefferson County, the one that may live in a city or town that does not have a police department. You know what we do. These cuts are going to mean this, that we will have 25 to 30% less deputy sheriffs that simply answer the call. When you make a 911 call, that's going to be that list. But more important than that, that'll probably be a $5 million reduction from me. What that also means, it'll be an even greater, it will just wipe out the things that I take care of children with. Things like the Youth Services Unit that investigate child abuse, sexual abuse, child neglect. I work hand in hand with family court, Judge Brian Huff. That will be wiped out. Our sex offender unit that keeps a track on where violent sexual predators are. We have 6 deputies in there now. We'll only have 1 there now because we have to pay attention to the base service. Our vice and narcotics that keeps drugs and narcotics out of your communities and out of your schools will be cut to a skeleton crew. I believe, and I hope you agree with me, that these are services that make sure that our children are safe. I believe this. I would not want to be a legislator and have to cast a vote because they're representing various constituents. But what they need to be doing is coming together for our children and our community. I'll end on this. I really believe this is not rocket science, but it's really 3 legs to a great prospering community. We gotta have great schools to draw folks into Jefferson County. We have to have safe communities, and we have to have entrepreneurial business starts. Then, you know what? You can take a look at how we take care of our poor. That identifies us. But I will tell you this. You take out public safety. Will anybody come to school here? No. Will anybody want to live here? No. So I submit to you that the legislative delegation is set to make public safety at risk and make unintended consequences of a weaker sheriff's office, and I hope I've made the case that our children will suffer in this county. To my brothers and sisters, thank you for hosting this. I'm honored to see men and women who care about our community and our children. You give me the energy to get down the road. Thank you, and God bless you.
Next, we have an icon. Many of you know him. You've seen him on film with the Civil Rights book. I know him as just Reverend Woods. I went to Parker High School, and he taught us. He taught us things. I asked him to please come, and he's an former educator. He's retired. And I just think if we listen to him, would the world be a better place? Reverend Woods.
And certainly we are giving honor to the presence of the Spirit of Almighty God, to our illustrious Sheriff, Mike Hill, all of our county officials, our school officials, brothers, sisters, ladies and gentlemen. We shall either nobly say, or we shall meanly lose this last great hope of earth. Time is not on our side unless we be steadfast and unmovable and continue to abound in the work of God for the good of human society. For the proper education of our citizens and for safety to the utmost throughout our communities. Some of the most important people in our society, there are many of us, everybody's important to a degree, certainly are our educators, those who teach, those who give light. For God said, let there be light. And there was light. In spite of that light that he gave when he spoke it, he had you in mind. The educators, the parents where the primary education is taught. But in spite of what you do, we do not have an orderly society. We teach orderliness in the classrooms. We must have order within our society. For where there is confusion, there's every type of destiny and evil work going on. So it is no small thing that the educational system must greatly embrace the sheriff's department and all of those who work to effectuate proper law enforcement. As I get ready to go to my seat, it will be a scandalous and a shame before Almighty God if our legislators sit on the stool of do nothing and sit down on their behinds, fanning fires and telling lies and saying that they cannot bring forth legislation that will deal with the problems of this county. And excuse my language, but I feel if you're in the position and if you can't use the pot, get off. If you can't cook in the kitchen, if the grease is too hot, let somebody else get in there who is willing to cook. When we send our officials to Montgomery and in these various places, we send them for only one reason, not to look out for themselves, but to look out for the constituency, to look out to represent. Listen, brothers and sisters, we are not weak, but we only have got to make a proper use of those means that God has placed in our power. He's placed the legislatures in our hands because we put them there. We expect them to do nothing less than bring forth the proper legislation to help meet the financial needs of this county, this city, and this entire nation. I know not what course others may take, as I kind of use the words of a great man who stood up in the Virginia Convention years ago when this nation was facing a crisis, when the naysayers were all around. He said, I know not what course others may take. I'm going to chop out a few of his words. I know not what course others may take. But as for me, I'm going to stand up. I'm going to accentuate the positive. I'm willing to work hard to eliminate the negatives. And as John Mercer said, when you do that, don't mess with Mr. In-Between. We must have positive action by our legislators. We must continue to have even more positive action by our county commissioners to stand up and be strong in the law and in the power of all of his might. We must stand up and let the Board of Education know that we are not going to sit idly by when finances are cut, programs are cut that would help to further educate our children. We have got to work together collaboratively of the law enforcement along with the teachers. The teachers are some of the greatest enforcers of law that you can find everywhere. Different minds come into the classroom. So I want to say, blessed be the ties that bind our hearts in sacred love of kindred minds, of fellowship. His love is like to that above. We are here today not because we are actors. A lot of folk not doing nothing but acting. A lot of them claim they love this city, that they love people, but they are doing nothing but acting. But we must have the true spirit of activism. May God bless you.
I don't even know who to pick to come next after that. I tell you, I would have loved to have had that speech in my 4th grade history class, because those kids would have really gotten into that. We have witnessed history with this man. He's been our friend. Next, we're going to bring up another great friend of ours, the probate court judge, Brian Huff. We have worked with Brian. We had a problem with children being abused and not having enough services for them. We called our judge in family court. Brian lined up a meeting with all the Department of Human Resource people. We sat down with our school counselors. We got with our administrators, and he helped bridge that communication that resulted in better services to children. Every time we have asked Brian Huff to help a child, he has been there for us. Every time we've asked Brian Huff to help a family, he's been there for us. Brian Huff, we've got to keep him there. He has been a great servant for our county, and he does not mind standing up. And we are so honored to have our friend Judge Brian Huff here today.
Thank you guys, and like Sharon said, it's great to be here with my union friends, and I want to say, wow. Wow, I asked Vi to let me go after Reverend Woods, simply because I know I can't outdo him. I'm not going to try and outdo him, and maybe since I didn't prepare a nice long speech, you guys will still be in such awe that you're not going to hear what I say anyways. Reverend, wow. Seriously, that was incredible. I'm not going to give some big long speech. I want to make a couple of points. We've got to get some legislation passed for this county and for family court, because what we do in family court is we work with children. We work with children who go out and break the law and they're juvenile delinquents, whether it's robbery, whether it's shoplifting, whether it's rape, or whether it's murder. We work with people involved in domestic violence. I spent all day long trying a case today involving 2 people who were involved in a nasty domestic violence situation. About 3 weeks ago, we had some people killed after court involving a domestic violence case. That's important. But most importantly, we work with abused and neglected children. We work with kids whose parents are alcoholics and drug addicts. We work with children whose parents may be abusive to them physically, mentally, and sexually. These kids need us. You know, it's easy to turn a blind eye if you're an elected official towards some of these children, because you know why? They can't vote. Doesn't matter if you're Republican, doesn't matter if you're Democrat, doesn't matter if you're black, doesn't matter if you're white, pink, or purple. These children need our support. And I'm asking the legislators of this county to get down there and do what's right for our kids. I want to close with something that I think is very, very poignant. I think it's interesting that they're filming a movie about Jackie Robinson today. I think it's important that the cars that we see and that the set that's over here takes us back to 1940-something. I don't know, Reverend, I don't mean to date you, but maybe you remember the 1940s. Reverend remembers 1940s. We don't need to go back to the 1940s. The one thing we do in this state, and most especially in this county, is we look for ways that we're different. We look at, well, I'm white and he's black, and I'm a man and she's a woman, and I'm this and he's that. Therefore, I don't need to worry about them. Let me tell you, unless we start getting together and we start worrying about us, and we stop dividing us and stop separating us, this county is going to go to hell. It absolutely is. But this is our opportunity to pull it out right now. Are we going to take a stand and say, I'm Republican and he's Democrat and I don't care? Are we going to take a stand and say, I'm a man and she's a woman and I don't care? Or are we going to take a stand? And are we going to say, I'm white and he's black? You know what, Reverend? Give me a hug. I don't care. We've got to do what's best for these children, and we've got to do what's best for this county, and we got to stop figuring out what divides us, and we got to figure out what brings us together. I thank you for having me in charge for this delegation. Find out what brings us together. Thank you.
Next, for those of you who might not know it, we have been following this bankruptcy case, and we convened a meeting, and our national AFT hired an attorney from New York to come and meet with AFT members and leaders of the community. And Tony, it was before Tony Patelis was here, but the county commissioners were here. We had a room packed. And the one thing they said was, Vi, you all have got to get involved in this bankruptcy, and legislatures got to do their part. So we have invited my dear friend, our county manager, who is here representing our former AFT member, Jimmy Stevens, who's now on the county commission. He is here representing Jimmy, who has tirelessly fought trying to get funding for this county. And we thank you, Tony, for being here today. Thank you for all you're doing. Would you come forward?
I want to say thank you to everybody for being here today. It's great to see everybody here on such a beautiful day. My job began on October 1st. 40 days later, we filed for bankruptcy. And it was a very, very difficult decision for me to make to leave the city of Hoover to come to Jefferson County. I have a lot of friends who said, why would he do that? Why would he leave a perfectly good city to come to a county that was on the verge of bankruptcy? And the reason is I'm a lifelong resident of Jefferson County, and I want to make a difference in Jefferson County. The problem that we're facing today is this. It's real simple. On November 9th, Jefferson County filed for bankruptcy. That was the end of an era. That was the end of an era where there was a corrupt government. Today, there are 21 people that pled guilty or went to prison. We have 6 county commissioners. We have 8 employees, and the rest of them are contractors that pled guilty or serving time in prison. Those days of corrupt government are over with. We have 5 commissioners that were elected a year and a half ago. They did not create this financial mess. They inherited that financial mess. And we're trying to solve that problem. It's a new form of government. A new form of government creates a checks and balance. It's a checks and balance with the county manager form of government. And I can tell you today, the form of government is working, and it's working well. The problem that we're facing is this. We have over 800 fewer employees today than we did a year ago. Those are W-2 employees. Those are real employees. Those are not vacant positions. We have 800 people who now no longer work for the county. And unfortunately, that number continues to dwindle. We're getting to the point where it's very difficult for us to provide services in Jefferson County. When we had the primary election, we had to shut down stormwater for a day to allow those people to go to work the elections. Because the general service people, we had over 300 people with less than 90 people in general services. We had roads and transportation that normally would be out working on roads who are now delivering election machines for a week and then another week picking up election machines because we don't have the staff in general services. We have a problem. I've had legislators saying, well, y'all haven't cut enough. We have cut to the bone. I am telling you that we have cut. It's very difficult. And another problem we're facing is the fact that we have good employees leaving. Our employees have not had a pay raise in 4 years. Our employees don't know what the future holds. Our employees are waiting to see what the legislature does. There's not a week that goes by where I don't have employees who leave because of retirement, they find another job, or they just give up, and they're just tired of working for the county. And this goes on day in and day out. We need a legislative help. The county commissioners, it's out of their hands. It's in the hands of the Alabama legislature, and we need help from Montgomery. What my goal is as a new county manager is to move Jefferson County forward in this new form of government to a government that we can be proud of. I can tell you that the occupation tax that was proposed, not a dime of that money will go to Wall Street. That money cannot go to Wall Street. That money will go to provide services here in Jefferson County. And there are a lot of mistruths out there as to what that money can be used for. And we in Jefferson County are committed to work ourselves out of bankruptcy. And if we get a legislative fix, then we can move quickly out of bankruptcy, and then we can move forward to make Jefferson County a county that we're proud of. We're a broke county today. We lent to provide services. Sheriff Mike Hale could not buy any new police cars this year. He had to buy used police cars. The Vesper jail is closed because we don't have the funding. And the list goes on and on and on. But we need help from Montgomery. We need help from the Alabama legislature, especially the Jefferson County delegation. Again, thank you all for being here. And Reverend Woods, it is an honor being on the same podium with you on the same day. And thank you. But again, I want to say to all of you, thank you for being here. Call your legislators and see what they can do. But time has run out. We have one legislative day, and I'm not optimistic at all. I'm hopeful, but not optimistic. Thank you.
Brian Huff is the presiding judge here at the Children's Policy Council, but Jennifer Kilburn is the director of the Children's Policy Council, and what an job she does. Her group represents services for children across several areas, and she has been our friend for a long time. She has been a part of our organization. All the programs we've been involved in, she has come to, and we try to get to as many Children's Policy Council events as we can, because this is all about children matter to us. So who better to speak than Jennifer Kilburn from the Children's Policy Council?
Thank you so much, Vi, for inviting me to